The question I've been asking myself is outside IR35 contracts within the UK actually independent management consulting? So I want to pose this specific question to you. Is your consulting career genuinely independent, or is it merely a rebranding of the same old role? Now, today I want to uncover the impact of IR35 on the consulting landscape and arm you with an effective strategy to help you navigate these shifts, specifically dependent upon whether you're deemed an independent management consultant or not. Now, of course, don't forget to like and subscribe as per usual, especially if you like this type of content. And for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Michael Tabirade, an independent management consultant and founder of the consultancy Mastery Group Limited. Now, let's get into it. What are the basics of IR35? Now, essentially, IR35 stands for Inland Revenue Notice 35. So Inland Revenue was essentially a public sector organization that used to deal with all the tax stuff, and they merged with HMRC back in the day. Now, the aim of IR35 is to make sure that people legitimately pay taxes. That's essentially what this is all based on. And so when it comes to this stuff, there are, again, as you all know already, people, individuals who work inside of IR35 and who work outside of IR35. And so when it comes to contractors and organizations, they both need to be cognizant and aware of what the status is when it comes to the delivery of work for a specific contractor. And so I want you to think about this. Okay, you've got the person on the left, same person on the right. The person on the left decided, actually, do you know what? I'm not going to be doing this whole 9 to 5 thing anymore. I hate what I'm doing. I want to be a freelancer. I want to be a contractor. I've heard about this contracting thing, etc., etc. Okay, so let's say the project manager was, somebody who did this back in 1999. Now they've left on the Friday, as you can see in the background there, and they've decided to basically become a consultant, an IT consultant on the Monday, doing exactly the same thing. So obviously, government's like, hold on a minute. These people are basically saving money, being more efficient, getting only corporation tax and dividends tax. And, we could potentially be making more money from them via PAYE tax, pays you earn tax, etc., etc. We need to put a stop to this. We need to find a way to make sure that actually we are getting our money's worth, because we want to pump money into public services and all this kind of stuff there. So this kind of raised a red flag, so to speak. Now, consulting under IR35. So for me, a consultant is somebody who provides specialist or expertise to a specific clientele. That's essentially what they do. And they provide solutions to organizations in order to help them solve specific problems. Now, it's important to understand that if you are inside of IR35, it's my understanding that, it's almost like you're interim. You can be replaced, so to speak. Or there are certain other conditions, such as, you do have someone who's telling you what to do. You do have to clock in at certain times. You may get a laptop from, your client organization. These are all things to think about if you're considering whether you're inside or outside. And so if you're outside of IR35, remember, it's more specialized, so to speak, or it can be at least. It's more project-based. It's more expert-driven. There aren't any of these different rules. There's a bit more autonomy to bear in mind. And so those are some of the differences, the underlying differences when it comes to an inside IR35 contractor and outside IR35 contractor. So hopefully you can start to see why I'm questioning whether outside of IR35 is really independent management consulting. And so I've got here, consulting refers to the type of work being done, while contracting relates to how one is paid and the length of time spent at a particular place. I want to make this abundantly clear. I didn't come up with this. My friend Katrina and I, after many conversations that we had in relation to this whole space, basically was the inspiration behind this. She practically said this, but obviously in her own words, and obviously I've fabricated it in different ways. So thank you for Katrina for that. I want to publicly put that on record. And so the term contractor can apply to various professions. Okay, so for example, think of a contract lorry driver or contract plumber or whatever it may be. These are all different types of contractor. And so as they can apply to various professions and all of this kind of stuff, the independent management consultant, okay, the independent management one, the one that I talk about, is the UK's version that describes an outside IR35 contractor. So outside IR35 contractors are considered totally independent or autonomous, working on a project basis without direct management. Of course, this is subject to the contract that has been negotiated and set up based on a proposal between the client and the consultant, okay, the independent management consultant. So it is of my understanding that an outside IR35 contractor is an independent management consultant in this context. Now, there are some things to think about and to consider when it comes to whether you are deemed legible by HMRC or anybody else as an independent management consultant. So these things will include things like equipment. So do you provide your own equipment, or is this provided to you by the end client? Are you working purely autonomously, i.e. do you need to clock in 9 to 5 and all this kind of stuff there? Do you need to, basically be told what to do by a boss or a manager or whatever it may be? Or are you working amongst other peers? Are you in a situation where you're project-based? Is this a project-based engagement, i.e., based on the proposal that you've put together or the bid, is there a finite amount of time? Okay, are you following a certain project or program methodology? Then there's also things to consider such as financial risk. So are you taking on the financial risk? Do you have business insurance, or things like professional indemnity or public liability insurance, IR35 status insurance, cybersecurity insurance, all these different insurances that come into play? And are you in a position where you can work for multiple clients? Can you do that? Can you only do one contract, or can you do many contracts and you do some of your freelance stuff and all this kind of jazz there? If the answer is yes, you can do all of this stuff, you are an outside IR35 contractor, and yes, you are an independent management consultant, as opposed to, again, an inside IR35 contractor. And so we need to think about, what does this mean financially in terms of implications? Well, when it comes to inside IR35, okay, again, it requires PAYE, pay as you earn. This is basically the government's way of automatically taxing you for certain things like national insurance contributions or income tax, which all contribute to things like maternity pay, sick leave, public services, etc., student loan, all this kind of stuff, pension, blah, blah, blah. Pension is obviously optional. Whereas if you're outside, again, you need to set this up yourself, okay? You don't get sick leave. You need to be a good saver. You need to make sure that you have something like a self-invested private pension, a SIP, when it comes to all of that kind of stuff there. So there are different rules at play. It's also essential that if you are outside of IR35, i.e. an independent management consultant, you have an accountant, okay? Someone who can process all of these payments and make sure that the administrative burden is reduced. You need to have a good relationship with this person in order to make sure that you are on point when it comes to your monies. The other thing to know is that do not get excited when it comes to your gross pay. Don't get excited, because you need to at least make sure 35% of all the money that comes into your account is saved into that account for taxes. Taxes will come. They will come for you. So if you're not ready for the taxes will be ready for you. So just bear this in mind. Now, before I continue, have you ever encountered challenges with IR35 in your consulting career? Of course, this is for outside IR35 individuals. Comment below and let me know. And of course, if you're a business leader, this could be within the business space or the career space, and you're looking to develop your portfolio career, okay, approaching it like a consultant, an independent consultant, then complete the form below. And of course, I'm looking for people who are senior leaders, business leaders, consultants, or contractors, any of those types of individuals. So I want to talk more about how you can navigate IR35, okay, just in general. Now, it's important to make sure that you have some sort of IR35 insurance. So Knightsbridge is an example that I've spoken about. I think it's Knightsbridge. I need to make sure that's correct, but you can check out a link below. You want to ensure it covers things like professional indemnity, public liability, IR35 status, cybersecurity, etc., etc. These things are becoming even more important, especially as you are independent and working for yourself. You want to stick to making sure that you are truly outside of IR35. So in a nutshell, you want to make sure that you are truly autonomous. You're not doing this thing where it's kind of like there's gray areas. No, put this in the proposal bid that you put together and make sure that you're purely like an independent. Okay. Otherwise, yes, you can be a freelance contractor, which is really inside of IR35, where you're finding your own sort of opportunities or working with different sort of recruitment agencies, etc., which you'll probably do with an outside sort of setup. But in the same vein, you want to make sure that you are dotting your I's and crossing your T's. Are you autonomous? Answer those different questions that I asked before, those 5 to 6 different questions in terms of, are you, processing your own or getting your own equipment and materials? Are you answering to anybody? Are you truly independent? Is it project based? Can you work when you want? Do you have a situation where, again, you could do multiple projects? These are all things to bear in mind. Again, you want to make sure that you have the right tools. So things like Microsoft Office 365, professional sort of like Google Suite, things like Toggl or Clockify or Rescue Time for tracking your sort of activity on your laptop. You obviously want a laptop, okay? You may want to be in a working space. These are all things to bear in mind, okay? And you need to have time to set this stuff up before any of your assignments. And of course, get an accountant, okay? Get an accountant. And get support, get other people who've been within this space who can help you understand how you can do this. I have friends who have been in this space who've supported me move forward as an outside IR35 contractor, which I'm deeming as an independent management consultant. So building your brand, why is this important? As a consultant, okay, as opposed to somebody who is, inside or in this weird area, it's important to build your brand. Very important. What does this look like? This means building a strong CV and portfolio. I use the PAR model. I'll talk about the PAR model at some point, but problems, actions, results. What problems are you solving? What actions are you taking? And what results are you specifically getting in terms of benefits, tangible benefits? Think about cost effectiveness, efficiency, savings, value for money. All these different things contribute to this sort of results that you're trying to get. The other thing to consider is, do you have a strong online presence when it comes to LinkedIn or YouTube? Again, I'm doing all this stuff. Hopefully this shows my competence, so to speak. Be on LinkedIn, it may be posts that you're posting, things that you're reposting, comments that you're contributing, your actual profile. Is it clear? Is it niche enough? Is it specific? Does it highlight your competencies? These are all things to bear in mind. The next thing to think about is also, do you have a strong pitch or tagline? Okay, who are you saying you are? These are all things to think about. And finally, are you connecting with the right people online, etc., etc.? Okay, so we now want to look at the future of consulting. What does this specifically look like? And for me, when I think about the future consulting, I think about something that I deem the consultant mindset. So we know, by next year, 2025, the time of recording this audio and video, that in the UK, at least 50% of people are going to have some sort of portfolio career. They're going to. And so the consultant mindset is so important. It's having a mindset of, I was going to say abundance. That sounds so cheesy. But it's having a mindset that enables you to understand that you're not going to be stuck in one place. You need to be doing multiple things. So for example, if we look at my sort of like pie chart of my portfolio career, I'm making money from YouTube. I'm making money from digital courses. I'm making money from coaching. I'm making money from contracting or consulting. Not quite making money from my trusteeship, because obviously a trustee is somebody who does it for free, but There will be opportunities where I become a non-executive director. I'll make money from that. I'm making some money from my books. Again, some of the stuff I mentioned is nominal. It's not a lot of stuff, but these are all different ways I can get paid. And of course, if I put more effort into that stuff, I'll make more money. So hopefully that gives you an idea in terms of what a portfolio looks like moving forward. So the future of consulting is all centered around this idea of a consultant mindset. Now, of course, there is a back and forth in the UK as to whether all contractors should be outside of IR35. I personally think they should be, but I'm biased. There are some people who work within, certain government departments who think the same to make it easier. But again, the government are trying to raise funds and they'll never say this. They'll never say this, but that's definitely one of the reasons. Another thing to think about is the reality is that work is looking more like contract work for most organizations, and people are looking for expertise when it comes to change management or supporting change initiatives. Why? Because a lot of change is happening at the moment. The world is changing all the time. If we look at, I think it's Moore's law, a computer's power doubles every 18 to 24 months. It's crazy. Things are changing. We've had the COVID pandemic. We've had socio-economic changes. We've had things happening when it comes to wars and occupations. We've had obviously things in relation to the energy crisis. We've had government changes. We've had Brexit. We've had things that are happening in the States, in Asia and Africa in terms of the wars. Like loads of things are happening. And so with that in mind, we need experts who can manage change and manage change pretty well on a rapid basis. So bear all of this stuff in mind. Of course, there are changes in terms of the spring and autumn budgets. You need to plan accordingly. I've got a video in this so you can check out all of that stuff in terms of how it affects contractors. But you have to remember, there are always going to be contractors. It's not going to be a thing where it's like, oh my gosh, it's not going to be contracting jobs. Yes, it will vary based on degree, but with any markets, they expand and they contract. They expand and they contract. They expand and they contract. So, bonus thing to think about. You have to find ways to enhance your consulting practice. Okay, so look, this is common sense. We're in an AI world. And so when it comes to this stuff, be smart about it. Use things like Claude AI or ChatGPT. I mean, I've been religious with ChatGPT when it comes to, not just consulting, but just in general. Now, I don't use it to basically create what I'm doing. I use it for brainstorming or setting a frame or giving me ideas. And then obviously I add my human element to make sure that is contextual to what I'm trying to do for the client. There's also things like Canva, which is really useful. It has an AI element there as well. And also things like Otter AI, Perplexity for research, etc., etc. So bear this stuff in mind. Obviously, you want to make sure that there's continuous learning. So think about known qualifications or vocational studies such as Agile Prints, MSP, change management, etc., etc. And of course, you want to strategically make sure you expand your networks on places like LinkedIn or events that you go to or previous contracts that you've been part of. So you're kept in a loop. You want to, obviously speak to recruiters as well, because they're going to know what's happening within the marketplace. So that's going to be really, really important for you. To summarize, again, I'm not going to go through all of this, but essentially get to grips with IR35 and really understand where you sit. And if you're outside paying yourself dividends, you're an independent management consultant. It's important to make sure that you are completely compliant to the IR35 rules and you're completely autonomous. Remember, the tax is different for inside and outside. Inside, you're subject to PAYE terms and conditions, whereas with outside of IR35 is corporation tax, and you have to take into consideration business expenses, etc., etc. Learn the climate, learn the economic climate. What's happening with the government? Are you listening to the budgets? What's happening within your industry? Learn all these different things. Understand what it means to stand out as a consultant. Do you have the right qualifications? Are you getting supported by AI? Do you have templates and processes to support you? All of this stuff is really important. Really, really important stuff. And of course, I always pledge to make sure I say we should connect. We should definitely connect. And if you haven't done this already, and if you want to have a competitive edge within the market as a business leader within this space, then fill out the form below. And if you want to work with me, work together, we can sit down and help to build and support your portfolio career. Now, of course, if you want to see more videos centered around portfolio careers, consulting and contracting, leadership, all of this kind of stuff, even personal development, then make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. And as always, my friends, understand, reach, and expand. Peace.